Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about ir and hacer. They are both irregular, meaning that they don't fit that pattern that we had learned for conjugating AR, ER, and IR verbs, which would make sense. If you look at ir right here, how can you take the ending off and add something to the beginning when all the verb is made up of is an ending? So it makes sense that ir would be irregular. You're going to have to change the spelling throughout because you can't take off its ending and add anything to the rest of the verb because there's no verb left once you take off the ending. And hacer is irregular, but it's not that irregular. It just has a spelling change in the yo form, so it won't be too hard for you to memorize. Ir is a bigger one. So ir means to go. As you can see over here, hola Susana, ¿dónde vas? Voy a hacer mi tarea en la biblioteca. So he says, hola Susana, where are you going? I'm going to do my homework at the library. So ir, let's repeat it. Voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. Hacer can be both to do and to make, like hago mi tarea or hago la tarea por la noche, so I do homework at night, y hago la cama por la mañana, and I make my bed in the morning. And you can see that hacer only happens to be irregular right here. It gets a G where there should have been a C. That's the only difference. You change it C to a G before you add the O in the present tense. So let's repeat it. It's hago, haces, hace, hace, hacemos, haces, hacen, hacen. Okay, so down here they tell you that hacer is only irregular in the first person singular hago, which is what we just went over. So that's the only place that it's irregular, right here. Okay. Hago la tarea por las noches. Ir is generally followed by the preposition a, and when the definite article el follows the preposition a, they contract to form al. So Luis y Ernesto van al centro estudiantil. It has to have the you know, like in English, you can have the option of using the contraction or not. In Spanish, you have to use it. So if you end up with a scenario where you would have, next to the definite article, the masculine singular definite article, you would have to change it to al. Like you have to make it al. There's no other option. Okay. The construction ir plus a plus the infinitive is used to express the future. Okay, there's another way to do future, but this is the first one that you learn. So if you want to tell somebody that you're going to do something in the future, you would use ir. So, ¿qué vas a hacer esta noche? What are you going to do tonight? Meaning later on in the day. Voy a estudiar en la biblioteca. I'm going to study in the library. When you are asked a question using hacer, you usually respond with another verb. That's a common mistake that people make, is they often, if you're asked a question, Ricardo, ¿qué haces aquí? Ricardo, what are you doing here? A lot of people want to answer back using the hacer. You don't put hacer back in your answer. So if the speaker says, Ricardo, ¿qué haces aquí? The person with whom they're speaking would respond, busco un libro para mi clase. So you usually respond with another verb. So when asked a question using hacer, you usually respond with another verb. That's important to remember. Okay. Y hacer is also used in idiomatic expressions such as hacer un viaje and hacer preguntas. And an idiomatic expression just means, you know, it sounds a little funky. It's not what you would normally think. You just have to remember that these particular verbs are used to express this type of idea. I don't know why I keep trying to do that. So hacer un viaje, to take a trip, and hacer preguntas, to ask questions. Okay, tengo que hacer una pregunta, I have to ask a question. Susana va a hacer un viaje a San Miguel. Okay, so let's do a little bit of practice. Let's start with hacer. Okay. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. You just have to memorize how to conjugate the verb, but then you're doing the same thing you've been doing all along. It says, mis amigos y yo blank la tarea en la biblioteca. We do the homework in the library. So who's doing the homework? It's my friends and I, which is actually let's do it in red. It's my friends and I, which is the same thing as saying nosotros. So if you come over here and you look at nosotros, this is the spelling of hacer that you would use, right? So that's what you're going to stick in the blank here. Nosotros hacemos la tarea. Okay, now here, ¿qué blank ustedes aquí? We know we're going to put in a form of hacer. So in the first one, if it's a statement, remember before the blank, because the blank represents your verb. So before the blank, you're going to find the subject, the person for whom you need to conjugate your verb. If it's a question, then you have to look after the blank. So here is ustedes, which is for whom you're going to conjugate this go round. We go down here, here's ustedes, hacen, and that's what we're going to put in our blank over here. ¿Qué hacen ustedes aquí? Okay. Tu blank ejercicio en un gimnasio o en un gimnasio o en tu casa. So the subject is going to be before the blank, which is tu, so it's asking, do you exercise in a gym or at home? Here's tu right here. It's haces, so that's what I'm going to put in my blank right here. Okay. Los estudiantes la tarea esta noche. So the students do the homework tonight. So the subject again, you're going to look before your blank, which is the students, okay, which is the same thing as they. The students are they. Okay, so then I go over here and I find ellos, which would be hacen, and that's what I plug in right here. So los estudiantes hacen la tarea esta noche. Mi padre ejercicio en el gimnasio todos los sábados. Who's doing this exercising at the gym every Saturday? I'm going to look before my blank. It's mi padre or my dad, which is the same thing as he. Okay, so for he, I go over here. Here's he. Here's the spelling of hacer that goes with he, and that's what I plug in here. Mi padre hace ejercicio en el gimnasio todos los sábados. Yo mucho trabajo para mi clase de cálculo. So who's doing a lot of work for their calculus class? I am. And so if I go over here, here's I would want hago. And that's what I would plug in here. Okay, here, Elena y Paco, los sándwiches para la fiesta. Who's making the sandwiches? It's a statement, so I'm looking before the blank. Elena y Paco, which is the same thing as ellos. If I go over here, I already have it marked. I have ellos, which is hacen, and that's what I would put here, hacen. Elena y Paco hacen los sándwiches para la fiesta. ¿Por qué no vosotras la tarea? Here it's a question, so I'm going to look after my blank, which is vosotras. So if I go up here, here's vosotras. The hacer that I want is hacéis, and that's what I'm going to write here. ¿Por qué no hacéis la tarea? Mis amigos y yo tenemos que muchas cosas hoy. Now here, your probably first inclination, your subject is my friends and I, but whenever you have que, after que, remember tener que, you have to keep the infinitive form, so I am going to plug in just plain old hacer, not conjugating it. Because what I'm saying is my friends and I, we have to do many things today. ¿Qué blanco usted cuando tiene mucha hambre? What does who do when he or she has a lot of hungry, is usted, because remember it's a question, so I'm going to look after my blank. I find usted. Usted is hace. And so that's what I'm going to plug in here. ¿Qué hace usted cuando tiene mucha hambre. Okay, so that's hacer. Let's do some ir. Okay. This first one, what are these people going to do tomorrow? Each of the following sentences is missing a word, a form of the verb ir, the word a, or an infinitive. Okay, so we're going to decide what to plug in here. Mis amigos y yo blank a estudiar en la biblioteca mañana a las 2. Well, we've got an a and we've got an estudiar. Well, to make the future tense, we also need an ir. The subject of my sentence is mis amigos y yo, which is the same thing as saying nosotros. Okay, and if I go over here, here's nosotros, then the ir that I would need is vamos. And that's what I would put here. So my friends and I, we are going to study. Vamos a estudiar en la biblioteca mañana a las 2. Okay. Down here, la profesora va a preparar un examen. So to make the future, we need ir plus a plus the infinitive. We've got our ir, we've got our infinitive, we don't have our a. So la profesora va a preparar un examen. Ana a trabajar en la oficina mañana. So for the future, I need ir, a, and the infinitive. I have an a, I have an infinitive. I don't have ir. The person who's going to be working at the office tomorrow is Ana, which is the same thing as ella. So if I go over here to ella, I would have va, and that's what I'm going to plug in here. Ana va a trabajar. Okay, here, ¿qué blank a hacer ustedes mañana? Again, I need ir plus a plus the infinitive. I have my a, I have my infinitive. I don't have my ir. What's tricky though is this is a question, so I have to look past my verbs, which in this case would be, even though ir is part of the verb, also hacer, I have ustedes. So then I look over here, ustedes is van. And that's what I'm going to plug in here. ¿Qué van a hacer? Whoops. ¿Qué van a hacer ustedes mañana? ¿A qué hora van a abrir la biblioteca mañana? Again, I have to have ir, a, infinitive. I have an ir. I don't have an a, and I have an infinitive. Los estudiantes van a blank a la discoteca mañana por la noche. So the students, I have my ir, I have my a. I think it's saying they're going to go to the discotheque, which I would need another ir in the infinitive form because I have to have ir plus a plus the infinitive for the future. So this is saying the students are going to go to the discoteca mañana por la noche. Down here, we're going to do the same thing again, but it's already done. We need to write the whole thing out. So the subject is mis amigos, which is the same thing as ellos. Okay, and so then ellos for ir is van. So what I'm going to plug in over here is van. Oops. Van. I need an a, and what they're going to do is over here, they told me trabajar. So, mis amigos, ellos van a trabajar mañana. Okay, down here, yo hacer ejercicio, so the subject is yo. So the ir for yo is boy. Okay, and that's what I'm going to plug into my blank. I'm going to have boy. Then I have to have a, and what I'm going to do is hacer ejercicio. Hacer ejercicio mañana. Okay, then here, mi esposo y, it says mi esposo y yo ir al cine mañana. So my subject is mi esposo y yo, which is the same thing as nosotros. Okay. And nosotros is right here is vamos.